Turning our attention to Forza Horizon 5, over the years, Forza games have been recognized for their accessibility features, and with each release, we've been able to make advancements and bring our games to even more players. Most recently, Forza Horizon 5 was recognized for innovation and excellence in accessibility, and today, we are very proud to announce that on March the 1st, players can experience Forza Horizon 5 with American Sign Language and British Sign Language in the game's cinematics.
When we were starting development for Forza Horizon 5, we made accessibility one of our core pillars. This means it got the same level of attention as any of our other core features like expeditions or EventLab. And that meant we started thinking about accessibility very early, and as we were developing the game, from the start we were always thinking, how are we making this inclusive? How is this going to be accessible from the bottom up?
Many people for whom sign language is their first language, that means that English is their second or even third language. And so if you're constantly kind of accessing anything, be it like a game or a TV series or a film, if you're accessing it in your second or third language, it's a tiring experience. You may not get all of the beats that are being communicated to you. You don't get that same nuance as you do listening to a conversation, right? If you read a transcript of a conversation and you listen to a conversation, it's two wildly different experiences.
We worked with the Deaf Talent Collective here in the UK to help us find our actors, Louise and Chris. And from there, we got them on camera. They worked with an interpretation team to make sure that they're reading a script, but they're also understanding tone and nuance, irony and sarcasm, and that's coming through in their performance. From there, we took the videos and put them in game, and that's when the feedback loop really started. We started sending videos off to our consultants, to subject matter experts, and having these conversations on the dev team of how can we make this better, what isn't quite hitting, and what's doing well. And I think the very last step of that was pulling in Cameron to get feedback from someone not just as a member of the community, but also as a gamer, and to get both sides of that.
And I hope too, sort of going from this, other studios start to look at what they're doing with accessibility and thinking about what they can do to support not just American Sign Language and British Sign Language, but lots of the other sign languages around the world into their games, so that more and more deaf and hard of hearing gamers can enjoy those titles and have that same rich experience of gameplay and storytelling as their hearing peers would.
Hello Forza fans and welcome to Forza Monthly. I am quite obviously filling in for the wonderful Leah today, and my goodness do we have a doozy of a show lined up for you. I cannot wait to get started, so without any further ado, let's have a look at the schedule. Starting off, we have the one and the only Tom Butcher joining us once again for a quick overview of the Series 47 festival playlist for Forza Horizon 4. Then we're thrilled to have professional fun haver and RTR Vehicles founder Vaughn Gittin Jr on the show with Playground Games to give us a sneak peek of the latest RTR vehicle coming to Forza Horizon 5 in Drift Club Mexico, the thrilling new Horizon story debuting in Series 6. After that, EventLab creator VuKKuu joins me for the community spotlight to show off some of his popular creations and preview what he's cooking up next. Then, as always, we're going to have a check-in with the wonderful Alie Tacq for an update on all the lovely events going on around in the Forza community. But hang tight after the show, because once Forza Monthly is all said and done, I'm going to be handing it over quite literally to myself and Playground Games for another Let's Go stream, where we're going to be previewing all the Series 6 content coming to Forza Horizon 5, including new cars, cosmetics, bug fixes, and trust me folks, a lot more. So that is 2 hours of non-stop Forza news, 2 hours of me as well. I'm super hyped, so let's get to it by welcoming Playground Games lead producer Tom Butcher back to the show. Hello Tom, how you doing?
Hey Charlie, how are you?
I am wonderful. You're looking incredible today. How has the last month been? Give us a quick recap. Has it been a goodie?
Oh, it's been great. Busy, busy with the game, busy with Elden Ring still. Yeah.
Still going, is it? The grip it has on you lot, truly. Anyway, we're here to talk about Series 47 as it is on the way for Forza Horizon 4. So, can you let us know what we can expect?
Yeah, loads of fun gameplay events. We may as well just jump straight in. So the 50% complete for the series, the Hummer H1, and at 80%, McLaren F1. Summer, 50%, you can get yourself the Formula Drift 777 Corvette, and at 80%, the Aston Martin DBS SL. The summer trial, Easter buggy, can get yourself the much coveted rabbit outfit. Look at that shot, it's amazing. We've also got the 9 3/4 Showcase Remix. And then rounding out summer, Wood Friday, can get yourself the Alfa Romeo TZ.
Oh no.
I'm not going to get through all these. The Koenigsegg
No, go on, say them.
Koenigsegg Hunt can get yourself, complete the rabbit outfit with the rabbit ears, scrambled Megs, the Renault 5 Turbo Forza Edition. So it's all downhill from here. Moving into autumn, 50%, the Hudson Hornet, 80% the Aston Martin DB-R1. Then the autumn trial, Silicon Rally, can get yourself the Peugeot 205 Forza Edition. And we've also got the Forest Sprite Showcase Remix returning as well, which is a cool one. German Engineering Seasonal Championship can get yourself the BMW E92 M3 GTS. It's a hard to find car, it's a hard to say car, but it could be yours if you complete that championship. Overnight Parts can get yourself a 92 Toyota Supra. And priceless Porsches can get yourself a Porsche Cayenne. 50% winter, Mercedes AMG E63. I told you it was all downhill. 80% can get yourself the Honda NSXR. And then the winter trial, Ice Gauge, the Ford Falcon Forza Edition could be yours. And then tip of the iceberg, you can get yourself the Maserati Tipo. Cold storage, the Jeep Cherokee 2014. And getting Cold Street, you can get yourself the Audi TT RS. And then finally, into spring, at 50%, we've got the KTM Crossbow GT4. And at 80%, we've got the Ferrari 599 XXE. The spring trial, Team Lotus, can get yourself a Lotus 11. We've got the Night Flight Showcase Remix returning. And then the seasonal event, Highly Sprung, get yourself a Renault Clio, Redline Rockets, the Formula Drift 599, and Old Habits Die Hard, the Koenigsegg Regera. And that is Series 47.
Very good. You've kicked the show off in spectacular style, as always. So thank you very much for joining me, Tom. I'm sure I'll pass you in the hallway in a minute as I totter on down to the Let's Go stream. But thank you again for joining us, and I will see you in a minute. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Bye-bye.
So now we are turning our attention to Forza Horizon 5. The Series 5 stunt PR Carnival was all about high-flying adrenaline, and the Horizon Stadium Stunt Park was the perfect canvas for you to debut your biggest and best tricks. So to celebrate, here are some of your Horizon moments. I love those because Lucas does that trick where it's the sort of thing I would do accidentally, where you fly across the map, but he somehow seems to land it perfectly. So I love looking at those and seeing people intentionally do wonderfully wild stuff. If you want to get featured in those, if any of your Horizon moments, photos or paints, make sure you're using the hashtag to get featured on Forza Monthly, Forza social channels, and even events in game. But now, once we've digested all of that, it's time for the Series 6 news. You've seen the photos by now, and you do, I'm assuming, know that a new vehicle is on its way to Mexico. But what you don't know, however, is that the man behind the vehicle is also on that plane. RTR Vehicles founder and world drift champion Vaughn Gittin Jr. lent his car and his voice to the Horizon Festival for Series 6. And while unfortunately he can't be live here with me today to talk all about it, he did have some time to sit down with the wonderful Leah, God I miss her, and Playground Games creative director Mike Brown to record a conversation about about Drift Club Mexico, a brand new Horizon story coming to Forza Horizon 5 in Series 6. So we're going to have a look at that conversation now. Enjoy.
Hi, Mike. Hello, Vaughn. It is great to have you both back on Forza Monthly. How you doing, Vaughn? It's good to see you.
Yeah, really pumped to be here. Excited to see a bit of it, what's going on, and chat about it.
Absolutely, and it's always nice to have Mike Brown back on the show too. Mike, how are you doing today?
Thanks, Leah. Yes, really great to be here. I'm super excited about this update. I'm excited to be in the presence of Vaughn as well. I don't think we've actually been on the same show together before, Vaughn, so this is exciting for me as well.
Mike, let's start with you then. Let us know a little bit about Drift Club Mexico in Forza Horizon 5.
People who've played Forza Horizon 4 may remember Drift Club, the Horizon story, and may remember Drift Club's host and leader, Robert Glenn. Robert, for those who aren't familiar with him, is a very charming Welshman, and he's a huge drift enthusiast. For Robert, drift is all about that high-end, super precision driving, that bravery and precision that comes with the driving, and also the incredible engineering that leads those cars to be able to do that. With a character like that, we are able to kind of infuse people with like what real world high-end drifting is like. In Drift Club Mexico, Robert will be arriving and he will have a 6-chapter Horizon story in which players will drive 7 of the most awesome drift cars in the world.
7 of the world's coolest drift cars. I mean, that sounds like the perfect setup for a Vaughn Gittin Jr. entrance.
Yeah, so some of our viewers already know, Vaughn is a good friend of the Forza franchise. We've had a few of his cars in the game already and a few of the other RTR cars. When this partnership arose, when we were looking at how we were going to bring Drift Club to Mexico, it aligned where we were also looking to be bringing a certain new car to the game, a car that Vaughn here helped to build, and it felt like the perfect opportunity to reach out and see if Vaughn wanted to do something with us.
Absolutely. And you have a brand new car coming to the game with that in mind, don't you?
That's right, yes. So it is the Ford Mach-E 1400.
Right, and the RTR Mach-E is all electric, and it sets the stage for the next generation of drifting. And luckily for us, there's no one better to tell us all about it than Vaughn. So Vaughn, please do tell us all about this Mach-E.
Yeah, I'm so pumped to talk about the Mustang Mach-E 1400. This is a partnership between my company, RTR Vehicles, and the team at Ford Performance. It is really a showcase of the possibilities that all electric vehicles, and it's frankly ended up beyond my wildest expectations. It's got unbelievable performance. We've got 7 electric motors, 3 in the front, 4 in the rear, 1,400 horsepower. We've seen between 4,000 and 6,000 foot-pounds of torque at the tire, depending on the gear we're running. It makes 2,300 pounds of downforce at 160 miles an hour. Like, it's just completely next level. And, we designed it around everything that I like to do, right? Drifting, all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. It's Gymkhana capable, road racing, time attack, all in one. And, we achieved it by setting up the chassis to be very modular and tunable, as well as the drivetrain for different configurations, right? It can go front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, just with a flip of a switch. Can fine-tune the front to rear power and torque bias just by turning a dial. We have a couple different suspension components for when we're drifting. We put some different steering arms and lower arms to add for more steering angle, just around like 65 degrees, very similar to what you would expect in a Formula Drift car. It's fitted with Brembo brakes, basically directly off the Mustang GT4. It's got a hydraulic handbrake that integrates with the entire system. Every piece of aero and every duct that you see in the Mustang Mach-E 1400 is functional for aero and functional for cooling. This car has a 56.8 kilowatt hour battery that supports the very high fast sprints and the high discharge rates that we need when commanding this type of power. We actually cool the battery while it's being charged, which decreases the downtime, between runs, and allows us to spend more time on the track where it was built to be. And this is, a vehicle that only very few people in the world will ever get to drive. So it coming to Forza is so exciting for me because, as a professional fun haver, I just want to share fun and let people experience things that we're doing the best that we can. And up until now, that's only been possible for a few, but now everybody can experience the Mustang Mach-E 1400.
Absolutely. And it sounds like a really, as you say, versatile car to take through Mexico in Forza Horizon 5, which is amazing. And now everyone has the chance to. As we can see right now in the gameplay, Mike is having a fantastic time with it.
Yeah, regular viewers of these shows will know that I am something of a Mustang enthusiast. I've driven the regular Mach-E, I've driven the top spec consumer model of the Mach-E, and even that is a really, really fun car to drive. Just that instant power and acceleration. It has really, really nimble control as well for a large car. But nothing prepares you for when you get behind this in the game. It is just like there is so much power. As soon as you're just touching the throttle, it's just got that instant acceleration that you can only get with electric vehicles. It's also the first car as well where we've had that option to just change your drivetrain on the fly. So you can just come to a stop, which we can do right now. Click that left stick, and you swap from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive, and then all that power now in the rear axles. So much, well, I was going to say easier to hold a drift, but not necessarily easier. you can certainly do more impressive drifts.
Vaughn, your cars aren't really strangers to Forza Horizon either. You've had a couple in there before, but now you are actually going to be in the game yourself for the first time, which is amazing. And you will actually be able to share insights as characters or as people are playing, as to, little tidbits about how Ford and RTR brought it to life. So, I mean, what was it like to collaborate with Playground Games for Drift Club Mexico?
Yeah, no, it's a huge honor, to be immortalized in such a fun game. I mean, I really love everything about the Horizon franchise, and especially Horizon 5. So to be further integrated in it is very cool, and I hope the players enjoy it as much as I do.
Absolutely. And I mean, Mike, what was it like to work with Vaughn and feature him in Forza Horizon 5?
Honestly, it's absolutely fantastic. I mentioned at the top about how Robert is a fictional character, the voice of this particular story, but we tried to make him be a believable drift enthusiast, a real nerd for the sport. But when you hear Vaughn's voice coming in, Vaughan just speaks with such authority and credibility. He obviously knows this car so well. He built it. He knows what it's like to drive it. So when you hear his voice in the game while you're driving it yourself, it's actually a really fun experience. I mean, the first time I played it, when I heard Vaughn's voice in the game, I just had this massive grin on my face the whole way through. It is so much fun. Honestly, I think players are absolutely going to love it. His voice just brings so much authority and fun to this section of the game.
So let's take a look at this brand new Horizon story then, which includes Vaughn in his personage, which is really cool. And while we have a look, Mike, why don't you tell us, what is Drift Club Mexico?
Yeah, so Drift Club Mexico is 6 chapters, 7 cars. It takes on a bit of a history through some of the most iconic drift cars of all time. Starting out in the Toyota A86, which is just an icon in the drift community. We work our way through to some of the more modern cars. We'll get behind the wheel of the 2020 Nissan GTR, and then we'll jump into some of the awesome Formula Drift cars as well before finishing up in that Mustang Mach-E 1400. All the while, we'll hear the voice of Robert teaching us a little bit about drift and a little bit about how important these cars are and about why people care about them. And then, as I say, we finish up in the Mach-E 1400, and we'll hear from Vaughn, who himself will tell us about why his car is so important and why everybody should be really excited to drive it.
Vaughn, from your perspective, what sort of stands out the most to you in Drift Club Mexico?
Yeah, I love that it's just kind of like an evolving drift experience, right? You mentioned, starting with the OG drift car, the AE86, and then evolving into Formula Drift cars, and obviously, what could be perceived as the future, which is the Mustang Mach-E 1400. So I love that, our community can, whether drift or not, you can kind of go through this evolution and quickly, become a part of the drifting story holistically. So it's pretty rad you guys thought to do this, and just really pumped to be a part of it. Definitely.
It's a full timeline. I mean, so let's take a look at it then. We've got some gameplay right here.
Yeah, so this is the final chapter. This is chapter 6. We start out in Ken Block's Focus RS RX, drifting it through the streets of Guanajuato. Very reminiscent of a Gymkhana video that Mr. Block released a few years ago as he drove this exact car down these exact roads in Guanajuato. So you get to have a bit of fantasy fulfillment there as you retrace the steps of Ken Block in a pretty awesome experience. Yeah, there's even some a little pinata stand here just by the cathedral that you can drift right into it. That really blew up on social media at the time. So I think if you're big fans of Gymkhana and drifting, then you've probably seen that video and you probably have a lot of fun recreating those moments.
The streets look so gorgeous too, all these lights.
Yeah, Guanajuato looks great at night. We've added in a few of these extra colours as well to just really just kind of amp up that beauty. But in a moment, we'll finish this stretch, and I think, as you just said a moment ago, Vaughan, we'll maybe look towards what the future of drifting might be like.
Look at that hot rod. Shoo!
So you said all of these parts are performance-based, Vaughan. Does that mean the light around the Mustang logo, is that going to make your car go faster as well?
That's more for looks. That's one of, there is some, look and feel on this car, and that's for looks. But at speed, it makes it look like you're going way faster. So you be the judge.
I often find that the cooler a car looks, the faster you want to drive anyway. So it's.
I agree.
So right now we're in all-wheel drive mode. So the story starts out when we do this section in all-wheel drive. Then our good friend Robert will invite us to switch it into the rear-wheel drive mode, and then we do the final section in rear-wheel drive.
Which is, I find that a lot harder. I completely lose control.
So you've not. Is this your first time seeing this?
Yeah, this is my first time seeing. I'm just kind of in awe. Like when we built this car, it was one of my goals. I wanted to make a Hot Wheels out of it, and I wanted it to be available in Forza. And we've got the Hot Wheels, and here I am seeing it for the first time in Forza, and it's just one of those moments, pinch me moment. So I'm just sitting here grinning ear to ear.
Must feel so surreal as well, like realizing your goals like that. It's there. You've done it.
Yeah,
What now?
it really is, and I can't wait for the team to see this. Everyone that worked so hard to make this thing happen. Yeah, it's really cool.
Every piece of aero and every duct you see is functional for aerodynamics and cooling. This car makes 2,300 pounds of downforce at 160 miles per hour. Ford has made it clear that they are bringing fun and function to the battery electric vehicle space, and this is just the start. I've watched even the most seasoned vets turn into giggly little kids behind the wheel and in the passenger seat of this wild machine. So, mission accomplished.
We're almost at the end, but as you've noticed, we've been running in all-wheel drive mode with all 7 motors. So, for the next bit, let's try something different.
Okay, so we're now into the final section of the final chapter of Drift Club Mexico. This is where the player's invited to switch that Mustang Mach-E 1400 from all-wheel drive into rear-wheel drive. So now all power going to those rear wheels. A little bit trickier to control, but also a lot more room for creativity and a lot more room for players to really show off and bank those awesome drift scores.
Yeah. So Vaughan, do you have a preferred way of driving this car if you were doing this in reality right now? Would you prefer all-wheel or rear-wheel or?
The car's a lot of fun in all-wheel drive. I mean, it is an absolute handful, and it's just crazy fast. For drifting, I prefer rear-wheel drive. It's got like a perfect wheelbase. It's super stable, but it's got a ton of grip because the center of gravity is so low on the car. And it just has so much forward drive, and it's so fast in drift, and it just annihilates the tires. So I have to stick with my roots on this one. I love it in rear-wheel drive. This car is geared, right? It doesn't have a transmission. So the final drive is its gear. So traditionally, when we're out drifting, we're geared somewhere between 130 and 150 miles an hour wheel speed. And so to put it in perspective, in my race car, I'd be in my Formula D car, I'd be in 4th gear to achieve that wheel speed, whereas this car is in that gear off idle. So, at 10 miles an hour, you floor it, and the car can be going 15, 20, and your tires are going 150, So it's just like, it's just absurd, the power output, and it can, just roast the tires at any moment. no clutch kick needed.
So aside from the Mach-E coming to the brand new Horizon story, it's not the first time one of Vaughn's cars has been in the game. As we can see here, this is not in the new story. However, this has been a long-standing part of Forza Horizon, hasn't it? So tell us more about this car. What is this car? What are we seeing here? And why is it so special?
So this is my Formula Drift 2018 Formula Drift competition Mustang. This is actually the same exact chassis that I won the 2020 championship in. So I'm extremely pumped that this has kind of become a staple in the Forza franchise, and the videos that everybody posts of previous games is just amazing. I love watching people's creativity, and to now have it in Horizon 5 with all the great experiences and all the different terrains that it can drive on. I just love I love seeing people get nuts with it, and I know they're having a lot of fun with it. So it's again so surreal to see my cars immortalized in game like this, and to see you guys shredding it like this brings a smile to my face.
One of the great things about Horizon, of course, is that you don't have to pay for new tires, so you can just shred it all day long and not have to worry about going and swapping those out.
Yeah, it's unlimited tire budget, unlimited bumper budget, unlimited everything, which is, like, again, I mentioned before, one of my favorite things about it.
Let's bring it back to Drift Club Mexico then, as we wrap up. I mean, Mike, what is so far that you know of your favorite moment of Drift Club Mexico?
I'm a huge fan of the character Robert, and I think when I first heard his voice again in game, I was just like really excited to have him back. And I know that fans really loved both Drift Club stories that we did in Forza Horizon 4, and I think they'll be really excited to hear his voice again. I think that it's, again, and when you're just slipping back into that Drift Club gameplay, you start out in the Toyota AE86, taking it along the runway through the festival. That's an absolute ton of fun. But I think, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because he's right here, but for me, when I was kind of first playing through the story, once it was all in place, that chapter where you just hear Vaughn come over the radio and talk about that Mach-E 1400 with just like real passion and authority, like I say, I had a grin on my face the whole way through. We've never done anything like that before, where in Horizon we've had like a real, genuine, real-life expert come in and kind of share their experiences and expertise. So it's the first time we've done it, and I just had a grin on my face the whole way through.
It's almost like breaking the fourth wall, really. It's like, is this allowed? It's like so realistic.
Getting behind the wheel of the Ford Mustang Mach-E 1400 completely changed my perspective on what power and torque can be. Together, my team at RTR Vehicles and Ford Performance spent over 10,000 hours working collaboratively on this to bridge the gap between what people believe an electric car can do and what it can actually do.
Vaughn, now you've experienced the Mach-E, like, where do you see the future headed for drifting in electric vehicles?
Yeah, I mean, being just a pure petro head my whole life, I think I had some of the reservations that other people may have of electric vehicles. And, I thought I had an idea of what the Mustang Mach-E 1400 was going to be like. But then when I finally drove it at full power the first time, I realized I had no idea. It was just absolutely absurd. And, coming from, this is a, 1,1300 horsepower internal combustion engine, nitrous breathing car. And so for the electric to just kind of put that in its place, if you will, and just blow it out of the water, it's really hard to explain. Is one of those projects that just kind of spans that gap of what people think electric vehicles are and what they really are and can be. And Ford has made it very clear, right? They're bringing the fun and function to the battery electric vehicle space, and this is just a start. And so for me, I think that this is the beginning. I think that as technology evolves a little bit more and becomes a little more readily available, I think electric drifting will really take off, just because of the control and power delivery options that you have, the easy tunability of it, the lack of needing $10 a gallon fuel, and it just the fun factor is just like another level. Like, I've watched seasoned vets turn into giggly little kids behind the wheel. I mean, Ken Block is one of them. You know, a good friend of mine, I let him drive it, and we both were in the car just laughing like little children. And yeah, I'm hopeful that, you know, the Forza Horizon 5 players will share those feelings and really get an experience. And I think, you know, we're seeing the beginning of a little bit of shift of how vehicles are tuned and what we expect in power and torque outputs. So it's exciting times.
It's amazing that you can use Forza Horizon as well as you can sort of utilize it to get people to change their perceptions on electric vehicles as well, when they might not have like given an electric vehicle a second glance before, and now they have something that can completely change their mind, and it's pretty amazing and bespoke within the game. But we'll wrap up with a question on everyone's mind, which is, how do we get the Mach-E, Mike?
Yes, so the Mach-E drops as part of the Drift Club Mexico story in the Series 6 update, which goes out next week on Tuesday the 29th. In order to unlock this car, you need to play through the Horizon Drift Club Mexico story. For that Series 6, that store will be part of the festival playlist, so it will be available to all players who've got access to the festival playlist. Just jump in, play through it, get to the final chapter, and just completing that final chapter gets this car added to your garage. Once Series 6 is finished, the rules change slightly, and that story will then become part of the Horizon Rush Festival. So if you're watching this at some point in the distant future and Series 6 is long since finished, then you need to unlock the Horizon Rush Festival, and then you'll be able to get access to this Horizon story.
Thank you for that, Mike. Thanks for joining us once again. And thank you, Vaughan, as well, for joining us here on Forza Monthly.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. This is incredible. I'm so pumped to be a part of it, and I hope everybody really enjoys all the fun that the Playground team has developed.
Yeah, thanks, Leah, and thank you, Vaughan. Honestly, it's been an absolute privilege to have you appear both on the show and in the game. I think players are really going to love your performance. You are welcome at the Horizon Festival anytime.
It's truly kind of amazing seeing and hearing folks like Ken Block and Mike and all the Playground team get really nerdy over cars. It's my favourite thing in the world. And I'm also completely here to see electric vehicles take over the world. So watch this space, everybody. But with that in mind, Drift Club Mexico and the 2001 Ford Mustang Mach-E 1400 are coming to Forza Horizon 5 in the Series 6 update. It will be available to download on Xbox, Windows and Steam from Tuesday, March 29th. So look out for it in the Series 6 festival playlist. Up next, as I said before though, Playground Games and I will dissect the entire Series 6 festival playlist, new cars and cosmetics, bug fixes and more on Forza Horizon 5. Let's go. That's coming up at the top of the hour, right after this Forza Monthly, so stick around. Please do not go anywhere. Up next though, Playground Games debuted EventLab with the release of Forza Horizon 5, a powerful creator toolset that dared the community to build their wildest dreams. Creators have delivered, designed new game modes, race certification modules, state-of-the-art photo studios, and works of art like the VuKKuu Imperial Circuit. We're pleased to feature the creator of said circuit, VuKKuu himself, in our community spotlight this month. Coming up right after this, though. So, as I mentioned, it's now time for our community spotlight with VuKKuu, an EventLab creator. Here's a look at one of his most recent works, if you haven't seen it yet. absolutely unbelievable. So incredible. And joining me now is the creator behind this masterpiece. It's VuKKuu. How are you? Welcome to Forza Monthly.
Hello, Charlie. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, you should be. We have got so much to talk about because what we just saw was phenomenal. So let's immediately start there. And I want to know how you came up with the idea to create the Imperial Circuit. What was your inspiration?
Great question, actually. So the inspiration came from my personal interest and background in ancient cultures, along with the overall community interest in traveling to Japan or, kind of East Asia itself. So I thought, let's try to find a middle ground and create something, a tad bit unique that hasn't been seen before. So.
Absolutely. And it was so phenomenal. It wasn't just like bits and pieces along the way. You totally took over something from this centerpiece here alone, which, by the way, this isn't a prop. If you haven't used the Design Lab tools yourself, you built this from scratch. Is that correct, VuKKuu?
That is correct. And between probably the dragon and the castle, those are my two, favorite objects within the Imperial Circuit itself. And I used quite a few pieces from the prop builder itself to create what you see in front of you. So I used the obelisk, the concrete wall. You've got some camp flags in there, tilted to create the teeth. You've got the shipping container to give it a splash of color. And then obviously it's on a large platform with some rocks. And it was one of the last touches actually to the EventLab prior to its release. And one thing that probably a lot of people don't know as they're taking a spin around the course itself, but the castle that sits just across from the dragon, there's a nice little podium there that you can actually drive up the steps, position your car and your livery and take some amazing photos and shots.
That sounds like an absolute must do. I don't know if you made any notes, but I don't know if you can share. Like, this sort of thing doesn't happen in like a split second. How long did it take you to build the circus? Do you remember?
Oh, great question
Circus,
again.
I meant circuit.
Oh, well, you would have thought I was in the circus with how long that actually took. But
thank you.
It was so it was probably, if I had to guess or even kind of approximate, I would say close to about 30 hours was spent in the editor itself. Yeah, it was definitely a project, but I spread that out over the course of about a week and a half. And one of the really neat things is I used about 6 of the 11 categories that are located within the Blueprint Builder, and I want to say maybe half of the 302 props that are actually, given to us as builders.
Oh, I'd love to see a challenge where you have to build something using absolutely everything available. Maybe one for the future, But I do think this is a true testament of it and an example of how creative you can be in the new EventLab tool in Forza Horizon 5. So I'm curious,
Certainly.
Is this something that you'd done prior to Forza Horizon, or did the inspiration just strike as soon as it landed in this title?
Oh, I love that you asked that question. So my interest really began, several years ago in the Halo series using their Forge mode. I had created, some interesting maps on there. Nothing, quite as extent as to what you're seeing here on Forza Horizon 5's Blueprint Builder. But that was really where my roots, I guess you could say, began. And then it just evolved. And, huge shout out to the devs at Forza Horizon 5 for, bringing and introducing the Blueprint Builder with the props, because it just added a whole new layer of gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. But this isn't the first one that you created. The city circuit came before this one, and is the first EventLab creation that you ever published, which is also a phenomenal feat that was your first one. We're going to take a look at that as well. But can you tell us a bit more about the idea behind it and why you decided to create it?
Yeah, certainly. So a fun fact before we dive in, this circuit was actually created prior to the update where we added the save and edit feature. So I left my my Xbox running. Yeah, the power company loved me that month. But
I bet.
This was again, this one was built to mirror. If any of you have played Forza Horizon 3, which I'm pretty sure you have, it took place in Australia. And one of my favorite places in that entire map was Surfer's Paradise. So I wanted to kind of bring that big city feel to Mexico, and this was my first iteration of that.
It's absolutely incredible. I genuinely just can't stop watching it. And I think that goes to show as well that it wasn't just the community that got really excited by this, but you even had folks like the wonderful Dave Orton, who we've seen about the Playground Games live shows, even actually tweeted it as well. So what does it mean to get recognition from the folks who made the game that you're quite literally then making into more of a game?
Oh, it's incredible, actually. Knowing your work is appreciated by not only the community itself, but also the developers is a feeling that's, truly unlike any other. And Dave, huge shout out to Dave Orton for that, by the way. He inspired me to continue creating an EventLab, and his support is essentially what laid the foundation for all of the creations that you're now seeing that have come after that.
Wow, amazing. A true icon. We love Dave. But let's take things back a little bit. We've seen these amazing sort of final products and people getting stuck in on them, but it must take loads and loads of planning. So how do you approach a project like this? Do you dive into the tool and then make something based off one item you find and it goes from there? Or is there actually a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes?
Oh, another great question. So for me, I find that it is best to approach a project like this with a little bit of planning and a lot of improvisation. I typically will pull images, online to reference the area or even the era that I'm trying to, recreate. And I go from there. Many times inspiration will take over and I begin to kind of, mash reality with fiction. And that's just, all part of the fun, right? But the most important aspect, I would say, to any great build is patience. Don't try to cram everything into a single session or even over the course of a single day, because you kind of limit yourself as to what you can create, and you'll burn yourself out. So I actually find myself working on a lot of these builds and these routes over the course of about a week or sometimes even 2 weeks, just a little bit at a time.
Absolutely. And I know we saw at the end of the video we watched at the beginning that you had some special thanks for folks that got involved. So I don't know if there's anyone you want to call out right now, thank them for their work, because, it takes a village to make something like this by the looks of it.
Yes. I'm glad you asked that too, because they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I say that none of my event labs have been either. And there are several members, in the community that have had a profound impact on my builds, whether it was through, sharing ideas, exchanging rule sets, or just, sharing photos and talking about and making suggestions. So I do want to take this time to just make
Go for it. The floor
give
is
a huge
yours.
shout out, basically. Okay, thank you. But a huge shout out to a couple of the guys that I communicate with on a regular basis. I'm going to start with DMFD Gamer. For those of you who love Rowley style maps, you're really going to be impressed with his Dirt Frenzy blueprint called Mud Shovel. Another huge shout out to Type Hardfark. You did see his highlight there where his stunt through the stunt park, his jump. And he actually currently occupies a spot on PG Editor's Choice playlist with his Mexico City circuit. So huge shout out to Type Hardfark. Another just phenomenal guy in the blueprint world is Josie. Many of you have tried his Japanese temple map, Zen and Naka. And if you haven't, if you are into liveries and you love taking photos, his is probably, at this current time, the best map to take pictures on. So highly recommend giving that a spin and checking it out for yourself. For those of you who love Hot Wheels, huge shout out to Arc Raiders. He's taken it upon himself to give you a nice Hot Wheels themed track, and which is also on the PG Editor's Choice playlist. Twisted Knot is another guy who is just a beast when it comes to pumping out blueprint events. He has probably made, in the time that I've made one, I want to say 4 or 5, and they're all phenomenal works of art. So huge shout out to him. I can't forget James Miata. He's also occupied the space on the PG Editor's Choice playlist, and he's made a few maps to take photos in that are just they'll blow you away. One of my personal favorites, who you haven't seen his name yet, he's actually working on a track that I was lucky enough to preview and give a practice run on, was SS Ibusu. And I would have to say up till now, his is probably, for me anyways, I anticipate that more than anything else. It is incredible. So I can't wait for him to finish that. The guy has just maxed out the budget, and he's done some pretty cool things to that. So keep an eye out for that one. And then I do want to give a very special shout out to both Mark Lee, Colossus 96, and Red Cat for helping me put together the rule set that you see on VuKKuu Imperial Circuit and the trailer shots. Those guys are actually the reason that you see the dialogue and the goals, which are on screen while you race through the track. So huge shout out to the community and all those guys for bringing all this great content. And there's just so much to look forward to in the EventLab space.
And talking about looking forward to, I do have to ask, has inspiration struck you next for your next creation?
I'm glad you asked.
Gotta know. Gotta ask.
I am working on a new track, a new project, I guess you could say. And it is a combination of my two previous tracks. But this time I've made things a bit more interesting. So for those of you who love, the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, boy, do I have a surprise for you.
That's me. Let's go. What are we playing with now? I'm fully interested. Let's go.
So as you can see, this the latest project takes place in Shibuya City, which is modern day Japan. And if you recall that famous or infamous scene where DK is chasing Han and the friends through the city, and then they drift through the crowd that all splits. That was actually
slow-mo
shot.
stuff, right?
Yes, and it was just breathtaking, and it was such an intense scene. But that actually takes place at the famous Shibuya crossing. And so this is what I'm really trying to replicate in this latest project. I have added, quite a few iconic buildings in there, so keep an eye out because you will see some familiar props if you've ever been to Japan itself. So very, very excited to bring this to the community and release it.
Wow, watch this space. And VuKKuu, honestly, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I need to know when that's going to drop, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on you. Absolutely, I will. Thanks again, my dude.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Cheers, you too. So you can play VuKKuu's EventLab circuits for yourself using the share codes we're going to be dropping in chat around about now. And you can also follow VuKKuu on Twitter for more details on that course we just had a sneak preview at then. But we are always on the lookout for more fantastic Forza content creators like VuKKuu. So if you know someone who deserves a feature, or if you think you do, make sure you nominate them over at the link that's on screen right now. We do have Alie Tacq standing by with our community events update, but first, a message from an old friend.
Hey Forza fans, I'm back with another Super 7 event in Forza Horizon 5. The Checo Festival puts your skills to test on a custom road through the world of Mexico. Check out the Super 7 PG Editor's Choice tab. In game to play my challenge car.
So Checo Perez's new Super 7 challenge, Checo's Festival, is available as of today in the PG Editor's Choice menu in Forza Horizon 5. But like I said, it's now time to introduce and welcome Alie Tacq back to the show, so come on in. Hello, Alie. How are you?
How you doing? I'm all right. Yeah, I'm pretty good. How's it going for yourself, Charlie?
Yeah, not bad. Apologies, I felt like I introduced you like you were a dog I was just letting into the room. Like, come on, Alie.
That's all right. Yeah, no, it's fine. It happens every week. It's all good. That's the classic.
Wonderful. How's everything going in Forza World? I'm sure you've got loads and loads of stuff to tell me. Starting with, by the looks of it, I've heard you've got something for Community Racing League MEA. Do you want to start there, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. MEA are a league that I wanted to talk about a little and feature this week in the sort of community highlights section. I always like to start by sort of characterizing the leagues that I look at, because there's a few different ones out there and they all focus slightly on different things. And MEA's sort of modus operandi is to really set up a fair playing field for all the drivers. So that's anyone from a long-time community member, someone whose name you might know, to a first-time driver. Everyone's going to get treated the same at MEA, and that's kind of their vibe. They're best known for a GT Championship Series, the Prototype Challenge, and they also run, that's what we're going to look at today, the NASCAR Cup Series.
Okay, perfect. As mentioned, we do have a little video about their latest Daytona round, which took place last weekend, so let's have a look at that and then come back and have a chat about it afterwards.
We are green flag racing here at Daytona, and Katie will lead the field. Oh, we got a car way down to the inside groove. And that front pack is all in the pits. Oh, and Bobbers! Is that Bobbers? He spins up! Fem Racer into it! It's, oh my gosh! And caution comes out. That brings Katie into the mix. They're 3 wide down the back straight. Oh, and a big wreck behind. That's LMP Ranger. Katie dips down to the inside of Blade, and Katie got a nice jump. Katie's on a mission tonight. She could have won it last time around. You got to think she's going to do a lot of work here tonight, taking opportunities, trying to find some type of momentum. Oh my gosh, FemRaiser just barely hanging on. Woo! So we just got word that Send It took a pass below the yellow line. That's a big no-go. And because of that, he has to relinquish his spot to not only Katie, but Riddle you. Oh! We got an accident! We're on board with it! It's Ranger! He spins out into the wall! With the pits open, Miss Katie Cat retakes the lead. She was a former champion, Season 1 NASCAR Cup Series champion. She's won 1 race this season. Last week in Indianapolis and looking for her second. Amoeba will take the inside line to push Send It. So Katie now gets in line between Sparky Motors and EMS Woody. And the front of the pack starting to get feisty out there. Let's hop on board. Katie gets to the inside. Woody makes a mistake in 3. Woody still caught to the outside. Sparky Motors, Cliff C! They go around! Woody's involved! 3-car battle for the race lead. It's Miss Katie Cat. It's LMP Amoeba to the outside. Katie gets a big run to the outside. She's got a push from Amoeba for the race lead. Amoeba chooses Katie. They got a big run to the outside of 1 and 2. Side by side going off to the exit now. Here they come. Lap down driver, Sweaty Rex in front of them. And a big pass by Miss Katie Cat and Amoeba for the race lead. They go through 3 and 4 now. For the final time, 2-time winner this season, back to back. It's Miss Katie Cat winning at Daytona. Katie takes the win here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it always that dramatic? That was phenomenal.
Wasn't it amazing? Isn't it brilliant? The commentator,
So
first of all,
good.
is Stephen Paris, SSR Mayhem, and just massive respect. So much energy and such great calls. Yeah, really, really great. It's a cool event.
Yeah, just so good.
Actually, yeah, I'm talking about SSR Mayhem while I'm on him. He actually runs the league as well, and
Okay.
so while he's commentating, he's also looking after the sort of 30 to 50 drivers who are out there racing. He's doing an amazing job and just keeping on top of everything out there. I asked Mayhem before this sort of how do you characterize the league? What do you like about doing it, and why do you keep doing it and keep going? And he was like, well, I just love the people and keeping up with the community and helping everyone out and making something fun. And he sent me a few different quotes from the competitors. It's so nice. It's so nice, Charlie. He sent me some quotes from the competitors. I wanted to read them out. LMP Amoeba, first of all, says, in my opinion, MEA runs the best NASCAR series on Forza, but the variety of series that MEA runs is a big part of the appeal too. I've raced dune buggies, prototypes, and many things in between, which is really cool. Also, Katie Cat put a word in, the winner we just saw from that last Daytona event.
Yeah.
She says, I don't usually race Forza leagues as I find the environments too intimidating. However, the efforts that Mayhem and their organizers put into their community to keep it friendly and competitive really shows. For that, I'm very grateful. So it's a really, really nice community, MEA. If you guys want to get involved, head on over to Twitter at MEA Online Racing. You can find a way to their Discord and their YouTube and their Facebook. So yeah, do that. Go and get involved.
And moving away from the endurance stuff, you also have the Taurus Sebring 12 hour, which happened the last time Leah spoke to you. So very quickly, do you want to let us in? Like, how did that go? Was everything good?
I know we're rushing. So it went well. I did kind of bad.
Good.
But the people who did well, yeah, that's it. The people who did well, ESV, they got a 1-2 again. Scottson, Eclipse, Moshi's Vanquish, owned it in Prototype. Barcode Bullet, Bobbits and Breeze, owned it in GT. Well done, everyone.
Amazing. What a collection of names that you actually said so well so quickly then. I'm going to commend you on that. Also starting today, there's new Forza Rivals event in Forza Motorsport 7. And your old pal and friend of the show, Joseph Nugarn, is back with another Team JN Bounty Hunter. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, it's awesome to see another Bounty Hunter event coming back with Joseph behind the wheel and taking on everybody in the community. All you have to do is go out to the featured rivals section on Forza Motorsport 7 right now, and you can set a time around Brands Hatch in the Corvette Daytona prototype. There are some awesome livery prizes that you can win. There'll be one for taking part, and then there's a very exclusive one for the very few people who might manage to beat Joseph out there on track. Probably not me, so you might have to show it to me. Send me a DM with it. Yeah.
I love that just openly admitting that you're not going to get it. Big fan. But I mean, we've mentioned loads of stuff already that's happening, but there is more to come. So let's have a look at the community calendar to wrap up our wonderful time together, Alie.
So here's some stuff that's happening coming up that you guys could get involved with. There's a couple of things I mentioned already. The Bounty Hunter with Joseph at the top of the list there. Suzuka, the next Endurance with Tora is one that I should shout out as well, just at the bottom of the list. There's some livery and design competitions from the Forza Horizon 5 Facebook group. Those guys do amazing stuff. They're also on Twitter, so don't be put off by the Facebook group name. They're also out there on Twitter, and do get involved with that. The photo competition as well. And also the Nin Jersey Volcano Cup. I had to message PTG because I saw this pop up on the calendar. I was like, I had no idea what it was. It's a one-make series with the Aston Martin Vulcan, in their own words, unleashing the volcanic V12 symphony of the Aston Martin Vulcan. If that doesn't get you fired up, doesn't get you want to go behind the wheel, I don't know what will. Get involved.
That sounds so good. Incredible. Well, Alie, as always, thank you so much for sharing all of your wonderful community insights. We will see you very, very soon. Look after yourself, my darling.
Oi, oi.
Well, we are now fast approaching the end of the show, and Forza Horizon 5 Let's Go is up next with me again. So stick around to get the full update on the new cars, gears, fixes, and even more coming up in Series 6. But before we say goodbye, you will soon notice some changes to the Forza Twitch channel. I'm just going to run you through really quickly. So given the ongoing and amazing positive response we receive all the time about supporting different Forza players with our Forza monthly community spotlights, we decided to try something new with the weekly live stream content we bring to you. So beginning the very first week of April, we're going to be shifting from our currently scheduled weekly programming to having 2 shows. One of them is the regularly scheduled Forza Friday, and an all-new time slot where we will be hosting different Forza streamers in the community. We're going to be kicking off this all-new time slot with a small group of Forza streamers, many of whom you know really, really well, and we hope you enjoy this brand new format, as we're super eager to see what you think. As a reminder though, nothing is going to be changing regarding our monthly Forza shows and Let's Go as well. We cannot mention this change without bringing your attention to the wonderful hosts we've worked with over the years, such as Stargirl Racing, Alie, Johnny Warner, Mach-E, and Eternium, and thanking them for the incredible work they've put in. They've been the best partners ever. So please continue engaging with them and following along on their different adventures. So, there's still time to catch their last few streams and express your appreciation though, with Johnny Warner streaming today right after Let's Go, and Stargirl Racing will be here tomorrow for Hey, Watch This. We will see you all in April for our next Forza Monthly. In the meantime, however, follow the Forza social channels for all the latest Forza news and updates. A massive thank you once again to Vaughn Gittin Jr. and all of our guests, and to all of you for watching. I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes in a bit of a flash for Let's Go, but until then, enjoy these wonderful shots from Forza Share. Goodbye, everybody.